Dark greetings, everyone. Welcome to episode 71 of What We Do, of Lights Thunder Action, What We Do in the Shadows Season 3 review. Let's get spooky after this very spooky song about someone we don't like.
Walking down the street, chickens blowing kisses. Never thought I'd end up 28 without a missus. Yet here we are, yeah, it's totally a thing. Making this movie about my life in quarantine. Started out hype, living life as a pirate. Then it got eclectic as time began to riot. Filmed my thoughts, what a terrible idea. Had a party over Zoom and got diarrhea. Ran out of toilet paper, life felt like forfeit. Turn on the news, an invasion of hornets. That's when it really truly started to unravel. I truly wish I could go motherfracking travel like toilet paper Jesus. Toilet paper Jesus. Toilet paper Jesus. Toilet paper Jesus. I wanna be a vagabond, maybe I'm a Cylon. I should have killed them hornets with a motherfracking mask on. Covered in ketchup, man, I think I messed up. Need a therapist that will help me fill my loving cup. No, not with beer, they really need to steer this conversation with myself a light year away from beer that need to poop and seize us. Sorry socks, it don't please us. Holy fracking crap, is that toilet paper Jesus? Toilet paper Jesus. 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 Toilet paper Jesus.
Dark greetings to all a very spooky season. All my ghoul, ghosts, and goblins out there, welcome to episode 71 of Lights Thunder Action. It is Saturday, October 30th, 2021, and here on Lights Thunder Action, we gather every week to have two Thunder buddies discuss all things Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and the latest happenings in the entertainment industry. And that means this week, it's What We Do in the Shadows, the greatest show on television. I'm Thomas Carter Rochester. No David for this week. He's still training the next LeBron James, cool kids and all. Coming up on today's show, we have LaVonne French. She's going to join us and review What We Do in the Shadows because it's also her favorite show. Season 3 finale aired this past Thursday, and what an episode it was. But first, every week, we are live beaming directly into your homes and phones via the Facebook, the Lights Thunder Action Facebook and Twitter, as well as the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube and Twitch. All of those links can be found at Linktr.com/LightsThunderAction. All one word, no hyphens, no spaces. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow to view the live version of our show where you can interact with us. But if you don't want to look at my ugly mug and you want to listen to the beautiful voices of myself and my guests, then you can keep up with us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a host of other great places such as Good Pods. And if you're feeling very generous, please leave a 5-star review. It helps boost us up in the algorithms, and your support means the world to us. But enough of all that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. You're here because we're bringing spooky season around like all things should be. So please join me in welcoming costumer, dancer, 501st Legion member, and Rebel Legion member, Space Mom herself, LaVonne French. Oh yes, flourish.
Hello, Doc greetings.
Doc greetings. How are you today, my love?
I'm good. It's been a lovely day. We've been out at the park. A lovely event. So it's, celebrating the season.
Yes.
And, of course, we're discussing our favorite show, the best show on TV right now. Just saying.
It is. I completely agree. I tell all of my friends that they should be watching What We Do in the Shadows all of the times.
Absolutely. So I was at an event, a Pensacon event today. It was Halloween Fest, super fun. So they had this is the cool thing that happened. Many cool things. One of the entertainers today played the song.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. Played You're Dead. It's like,
oh, yes. You're dead. You're dead.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
dead. And
It
out
was
of this
great.
world.
It was like, oh my God.
That's amazing.
Maybe, I don't know. It was perfect. It was like, this just makes this day so much better.
Right?
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. So, before we dive into What We Do in the Shadows, LaVonne, let's let the audience get to really meet you. As a first-time guest on the first-time guest co-host on Lights Thunder Action. So you are a dancer.
Yes.
You said. How long have you been dancing?
Well, a long time, maybe since the Jurassic period. I don't know. It's been a while. Well, look, I was talking earlier about the facelift thing. No, I've been dancing probably more than half my life. My degrees are in dance. I'm also a dance instructor at Pensacola State College. So that's what I do. I'm a dancer and I'm a choreographer. I'm an artistic director of a local modern dance company, an area dance company here called Swerve Dance. So that's kind of my background. I'd also have some theater background. I'm a costumer. I do costume the shows at PSC as well. So, and I'm a big giant nerd. Star Wars. Yeah, as he was saying, I'm the space mom. I am.
Space mom. Doing stuff like bringing Band-Aids. We'll write a whole ballad, I think.
I know, right?
The ballad Ode to Space Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's a really good title. But you said you are a costumer. What does that mean for the folks at home that don't know what that actually means?
Well, in my capacity at Pensacola State College, I am in charge of costume design and costuming all of our productions. We do 4 main productions every year, and I'm responsible for doing the costume plot. I work with the director on what their vision is for the show. And there's a lot of research involved. You have to read the script, you have to do character analysis, and, you got to know what the show's about. And so I'm responsible for putting clothes on people. And, it's obviously it's more than that, but, you got to know what the show is. You got to have an overall look of the show. So it's pretty involved, but it's something that I really love. I've always loved doing costuming. And so this has been, it's another avenue, because I'm dancers, it's my background, but it's another way of being creative. And so it's very fulfilling and I love it. So, taps into what I've kind of been interested in most of my life too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Taps in. I saw the dancing pun you threw in there. Dancing pun. I didn't have more than that. Sorry, Abba. Now, you are a member of the 501st Legion and the Rebel Legion, which, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you should know what those are. But if not, we will let Space Mom tell you what that is. What is the 501st and the Rebel Legion?
The 501st and Rebel Legions, they're actually sister organizations. They're fan-based. They're all volunteers. We are the Star Wars guys. We are recognized by Lucasfilm as like the premier costuming organizations in the Star Wars genre. We get to do all the cool stuff because we have charters, we have CRLs, which are Costume Resource Library, which means you have to have, in order to join the organizations, you have to have a costume that is basically screen accurate. Look, you have to look like you walked off a set of one of these movies, TV shows. You know, now that we're in TV shows, they have to look that accurate. They're really wonderful organizations. We do work with the community. We do charity events. It's a way of giving back to the community through our love of Star Wars and everybody else's love of Star Wars. So it's fun.
Yes, and who do you cosplay as? Which are the what kind of Space Mom?
Space Mom. And the Rebel Legion, I primarily do Leia. I have several different versions of Leia. From I've got an Empire Strikes Back, Escape from Bespin. It's a trap, you know that one. And one from Return of the Jedi. But I really love. I know it's not, you know, some people like, I love the sequels, and I love General Leia, and I love how she evolved as a character. And I love her costumes. So I have several of those costumes as well. With 501st Legion, I have an Imperial officer. I have a reserve TIE pilot, which is basically a TIE pilot without the armor. So you have a cap. I have a Kylo Ren.
Ooh.
And I have expanded universe character named Mara Jade. If anyone's familiar with Mara Jade.
I'm very familiar with it.
Yeah.
Very is a adjective I shouldn't have thrown in there. I am familiar with Mara Jade.
With Mara Jade, and she was a character written by Timothy Zahn, who has actually been a guest at Pensacon several years. He wrote a trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy, if you know who Admiral Thrawn is, that Luke guy. She was a character written by him. One of many of the highlights I've had at Pensacon was I actually got my picture taken with Timothy Zahn in my Mara Jade. So it was like,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was very special. So that, I mean, I have several, you know, Rebel Legion and 501st. So it's like, where do I wear all this stuff? It's like, which one do I wear today? Temperature.
Very important, especially, you know, on a cold night like tonight.
Like today. It was very cold today.
It's very cold, very sunny.
It was sunny. I didn't have my glasses on, you know.
The
cloud, look, the sun was covered by the clouds, so we were okay. Yes, it was okay.
You should have worn a helmet and just like Blade.
You know, like Wesley was over there. Wesley Snipes was over there.
On the laptop, I remember.
Wesley Snipes over there.
I think that means it's time to go ahead and just dive right in to what we do in the shadows, season 3 review. I want to start with you as the guest, of course, and ask, what are your general thoughts before we get into spoiler territory?
My general thoughts are it was good. It was some interesting character development through this season. There were, to be honest, there were a couple episodes that were like, they're good, but then toward the end of the season, it was like, I don't want, I know we are going to talk about spoilers, right? But
Oh yeah, we're gonna dive. We're gonna go full bat later on.
Oh, good. It was good. It was a very good season, I thought. I'm of course I'm curious about what's gonna happen in season 4 because again we'll be talking about it. Nandor.
Oh, fucking
Bless his
guy.
heart. I mean Nandor's been going through some stuff. Poor Nandor. He's like, just can't find a.
Just can't.
Can't find. It's not working.
What is the point of having eternal life if you can't share it with someone?
Oh.
Gale. Yes, fucking Gale.
Gale.
I actually thought the same thing, and then I rewatched it in the last 24 hours, give or take. And I see now the episodes where I'm like, okay, this is the plot. I saw how it tied in more in depth. Later on. We'll dive into the arcs of the main cast at least. In a little bit, but I really thought that the character development and the way that they dove deep into it for every one of them was what made this season so great. It wasn't just, we're doing this one thing in an episode, we're doing this thing. It was that, but they would subtly tie together. And it's very, especially in the final 2 episodes, if you will, the farewell and the portrait really ties in all the stuff that's going on. And I gotta say, like, after watching it all binged together, I'm like, wow, man, there's a lot going on in this season.
Yeah, there was. I mean, from the first episode of the season, well, from what happened in the last season with now they all know who Guillermo is and what his background is. And he's gone from being a familiar to now he's
a bodyguard.
So, I mean, his whole character, and he's sort of like manipulating things. I mean, it just very subtly, he's making things happen. I mean, the whole vampiric council. I had to go back and watch that one episode. No, it was I gotta go look. I've got my cheat sheet. Not the casino game. The Chamber of Judgment. Oh, heck.
Yes.
I moved the chair.
It's time. We're diving full spoiler alert.
Sorry.
So let's start off with the character arc. Let's start off with Guillermo. As we learned in season 1 and 2, he is a descendant of Van Helsing. Thus, he is a born vampire killer. He accidentally kills lots of vampires in his some of his time, and then he became a mass murderer, if you will, by destroying the vampiric theater.
The whole, which was beautiful because it was a whole take on Interview with the Vampire. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and it was very. I love how it ends, and we all thought, like, what's going to happen now? And then we start off this season. Guillermo's literally in a cage as the prisoner. He's been there a month, and they haven't figured out what to do with him. Oh, by the way, he can also sneak out.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
He's been sneaking out and still killing the vampires coming to kill them.
He's still protecting them, and it's like they have no clue as to what's going on.
And then with the mist showing up, the guide from the Vampiric Council comes to reveal that, hi, since you've killed all the Vampiric Council, you are now the Vampiric Council. Congratulations. Who's going to rule? And that starts Nandor Nadja on their track of what's going on. And it really starts because this is where we also get the Guillermo from Familia to bodyguard, because he's more than just a familiar now. He can kill all of them if he wants to, which we will get to later in the finale. We get a nice little fun scene of how good he is. And that starts kind of pushing everybody. The Vampiric Council was the inciting incident for a lot of this season. And it carries into the Cloak of Duplication, where they're doing things back and forth. And of course, it's really hard to go into Guillermo without going into the rest of them. But we'll focus on Guillermo. Guillermo was basically becoming the man at the house, if you will, the head of the household. That's probably
he really is. He's kind of like I said, he's kind of manipulating in a good way. I think in a good way. He's really looking out for them. I think the best he can.
He's a lot more Yoda, a lot less Palpatine.
Exactly. Just little things that, it's just funny. And you have to go back and watch the episodes because there's just some funny things that, it's very subtle things that he says. But I think he's trying to take care of everybody, but yet on the, he's not putting his needs aside. I don't think he's putting his needs aside anymore. I think he's becoming more of a, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I'm sure you do.
He's an action taker.
Yeah, he is.
Now he's not going to sit and wait. He's going to take action.
No.
And I think that's kind of like the perfect place of where his arc has been going. Especially after that whole Mosquito Club incident, if you will, which has an amazing tie-in coming back in the judgment, the Chamber of Judgment in a little bit. So that's pretty much Guillermo. He starts there and he ends at a place where we're full spoilers that he's told he's going to become a vampire finally. And then he gets locked in a coffin, which we will put a pin, maybe we'll put a nail in that and come back once we wrap some other characters. So the Vampiric Council is kind of the A plot in how it's presented for the season, and that is really focusing on Nadja and Nandor. Nandor? That was weird to say. Nandor? Nandor, you fucking guy. And it's those two, Nadja and Nandor, becoming co-leads of the Vampiric Council and how they balance that while Nadja is kind of being empowered and taking on this charge and taking on the stress because she wants that. She was a poor village washerwoman who was not seen as anything, and now she's in charge.
And then to burn the donkey.
The donkey. And of course, we know Nadja and Nandor had that history of, burning down her home village, of course.
Passion Frank Zappa.
So that makes it really fun. And it's interesting because while she is going up in emotion and mood and conviction, Nandor is kind of going down. And we find out really early he's just kind of looking for love. And in the second episode, The Cloak of Duplication, first off, it is an absolute just acting smorgasbord of an impression from Kayvon Novak.
Oh my God, he did
an amazing
spot
job.
on.
And I didn't know that it was him doing those impressions until they mentioned it. Like, no, that's him. Like, he does it all the time. So we wrote a little gimmick, and then he took it and blew it up.
It was so good.
And it is so good where he is, everyone is putting on the cloak to be Nandor. Because Nandor really he's in love with Meg. I'm going to be honest, Nandor is 100% a Libra. Like, I know that without a doubt. Maybe not a Libra. He's definitely got a romantic heart. But Nandor, that is his whole gimmick this season. He is looking for love.
Yep.
Episode 3, it's got fucking Gale.
Yeah.
Where she is an old flame that returns, and then
she keeps breaking his heart
every fucking
maybe
time.
It's like doing the nails. It's like a few more years.
And then oh my god, yeah, it reminded me of Clerks a little bit, you know. And then Gail turns out to be a werewolf. They go their separate ways. The next episode is the casino, and we find out that vampires cannot sleep without their ancestral soil underneath them, which is a fun thing. It's also the return of Sean and Charlene.
Yep.
As they go to Viva Atlantic City. Viva Atlantic City. And we find out a lot more about Sean and his situation going on in life. A lot of good character development here.
Oh. Hello, Thomas. Where are you? Thomas? Hello? What happened? I'm still here. Uh-oh.
I am back. It would not be spooky season without the little connectivity.
It was gone. It was so lonely here by myself. Oops. Oopsie.
Yes, Guillermo, I know about how the ether works. Yeah, I don't know what just happened. So
I couldn't even go
connected through my phone.
Through the ether.
Arise.
Arise.
I am hoping that the internet comes back on soon because I'm connected through my hotspot on my phone. So we'll continue this until something changes. We'll see. Nandor ends up where was I at? Chamber of Judgment. Nandor is doing his thing. His story kind of hits a really hard pause. No, it doesn't, because the escape happens where we learn about a character. And then it turns out to pay off, and it is the sire, and it is the myth is, if the vampire that made you dies, you also die, and the sire is the sire of all vampires. So if he dies, everyone dies. Obviously, that creates a panic. We see the return of the Baron, which I've been waiting for since season 1. And he's hilarious. We get more of the Hellhound here. And Nandor really takes on the fact that he failed by letting the Baron, by not feeding the Baron. He takes it on really hard, even though Nadja is lying.
Yeah, she forgot to give him the notes.
So it's hard to say whose fault it really is.
Really?
He takes it on hard. And it's brilliant how it all happens. And it kind of continues to push him a little bit further. He's just depressed, upset. The episode of The Siren comes on. 2 travelers are shipwrecked and a doll runs away from home. And this is Nadja doll and Nadja going through some stuff. And this is the episode that kind of takes Nandor on a let me help you vibe when he can't help himself. Which is important because the next episode is the Wellness Center, and Nandor is persuaded to reject vampirism and pursue a healthier lifestyle where he wants to become a human. Now, this is basically the final push of his character development until the last 2 episodes, which, of course, is A Farewell and The Portrait. And it's him becoming a cult member, if you will. I think that's the best way to summarize it.
Yeah, I just watched that one because I was trying to like watch everything again. I just watched that one again. Just that hair. I can't get over that. That just.
Yeah. Oh my God. Hilarious. The sweaters are my favorite part of it. If I'm going to be super serial, I loved the sweaters. I need a couple, if I'm being honest. I cannot wait to find some because they're obnoxious. And he basically ends up getting yanked back into life as a vampire. And then we have the last episode, the last 2 episodes, A Farewell. And then the season finale is titled The Portrait. In A Farewell, all he wants to do.
Thomas, hello.
Sorry. And it just keeps getting interrupted a lot, you know? Hey, we're back. I think I'm back on the good Wi-Fi. Check, mic check. Can be heard?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, thank goodness. Yes, I know how the ether works, Guillermo.
Doug Peterson. How you doing?
So then in The Portrait, they're all mourning in their own way, a thing that's happened. And Nandor is deciding he's going to go off and go live his own life. And that brings him and Guillermo together to decide. And then Guillermo and Nandor have this brilliantly choreographed fight where we see how good Guillermo is. And Nandor literally says, "Oh, that little guy can move when he wants to. Fuck." And you find out right then and there that Guillermo could absolutely kill Nandor the Relentless without issue. And he agrees to turn him into a vampire because, you know, why have him try to kill you when he can be on your side?
There you go.
That brings Nandor to the point that we're going to have to pause at because of where his finale ends. Nadja, hers is just trying to take on responsibility, and it's stressful, and then she ends up neglecting her emotions. And by doing that and neglecting Nadja Doll's emotions, we get her biggest character arc episode, in my opinion, there, where it's like, oh, in the sense that it's self-realization. That was her arc in that episode, which is kind of where everyone ended up needing to be before the last episode. What did you think of? Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and say Guillermo, Nandor, and then Nadja's arcs throughout.
What did I think of them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Guillermo. I mean, I really love where that character's going. I mean, and I think I said it earlier, how he's really becoming. He's really kind of the head of the household, I think. Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned that. Oh gosh, I'm hoping, and I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm hoping he doesn't become a vampire. I don't know that he can. I mean, he's a Van Helsing. We know that, right? It's not the spoiler anymore.
It's not the spoiler, no.
I don't think he can because he's a Van Helsing. I don't know that he can become a vampire. I think he's better. I mean, I think he really wants to protect the family. Mm-hmm. Nadja? What's going on with her? I know it's been a long day. I'm so sorry. My brain has got the scramblies. I got the brain scramblies.
The quadruple super
brain
hypnosis
scramblies.
it's never even been done before. We should not have tried it on this day. Yeah, Nadja is going through that, self-empowerment kind of vibe this season. She's taking charge, trying to be the woman, and her story wraps up really well. Unfortunately, in a way, it was a strange thing. It's a very strange one, and the way that it's delivered in the ending, her elevation is through her husband, which he's the plot device that describes her growth, if you will. Which could bring us to Laszlo. But what about Nandor's arc? Like, what do you want to see from Nandor? Well, we can't say going forward yet, can we? Because we got to kind of have to wrap up the rest of them. Let's wrap up the rest of them. Laszlo is on a mission of we actually don't know. We don't. We really don't know what his mission is the whole season. Because the way it was like at the end of this, we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't know where he's going. No. He's sent. Are we talking spoilers now? I guess. Well, I was gonna kind of get the yeah. We're at Laszlo now. So his arc is he's basically been kind of sweetening up with people, and he's been very helpful and kind of showing his romantic side, which is kind of, I suppose, what his arc is about, is opening up to that and showing his care. He does, and it shows with his relationship with Colin Robinson. It does, for a reason we will get to in just a moment. But they're basically pals this whole season, and that really starts around episode 2. In the episode about Gale, Colin and Laszlo disassemble and then reassemble a car outside and drive it. And then in the casino, they have their own connective things that they're kind of going on. The Chamber of Judgment is Laszlo goes over to Sean again, and then he ends up in small claims court, and he brings Colin Robinson along. Laszlo does, and they have this situation, their friendliness. The escape is kind of everybody freaking out, doing their own thing, and then in the siren, it's again Laszlo and Colin Robinson doing their thing, and it ends, and you just think that Laszlo is the biggest dick, but it continues on, and then in a farewell, Laszlo reveals a very important piece of information. He reacts on it later on in the portrait, which brings us to Colin Robinson. In the first episode, he mentions that he's coming up to his 100th birthday, and he really wants to know where energy vampires come from. The Vampiric Council plot device, they're allowed to be in the library. So that's in episode 2. And both of them. Yeah, he and Laszlo spend a lot of time together in that library. They do. And they are looking for that. And it's set up that Laszlo's just looking to wank at old pornography. And he rips out a page in a book, and he says, "What are you ripping that out?" He's like, "I'll wank my way, you wank yours." And then that continues on, and that's Colin's whole gimmick this season. He's trying to figure out more about energy vampires, have fun, and he's becoming more existential. And that brings us to a farewell, where we find out that it is Colin's 100th birthday, and Laszlo has been pushing the whole episode to celebrate it and to say good things. And it turns out that on the 100th birthday, energy vampires will perish, and there's nothing you can do about it. And by the end of the episode, Colin Robinson does die, and they smush his face in. And that's Nandor, and that's part of Nandor. He keeps getting woken up, and he gets mad, and he's like, "Wakey, wakey! Come on, tickle, tickle!" And he puts his hand on his head, and it smushes in. He goes, "Oh," bringing us to the finale episode, and I think we can wrap all this up in all the storylines here. The housemates grieve the loss of Colin Robinson. They all take it in different ways. You find out that Nadja is being promoted to the Worldwide Vampiric Council now, and she has to move to England. And that sets up a conflict with Laszlo, as he's never returning to England because he was kicked out of the Sherwood Club. I don't believe that was the right name.
I think it was the Sherwood Club.
The Sherwood Club. And it creates this conflict, which does pay off right at the very, very, very end of it. Nadja's not, really going through any emotions when it comes to the Colin Robinson of it all. Nandor is realizing that life is short, if you will, even for eternity. And so he's trying to get out of there as well. We skipped over all the guest appearances, but I mean, Donald Logue is now a vampire, which is great.
It's so great.
And Nadja, Guillermo, what is my line? Oh, yeah. So Laszlo does not deal with his trauma very well. He's ignoring it, and he's making plans, and he's doing secretive stuff. And, he mentions in the previous episode, the reason he's been hanging out and showing Colin Robinson a good time is because he didn't have the stomach to tell him he was going to die at 100 years old. And so he's kind of bent out of shape, while Guillermo's the only one trying to get everyone to talk about their feelings, understanding that, as they've said this whole year in the season, we're all just a big family here. And it really comes together, and that's kind of the character arcs of where it goes, is they admit that they are a family in this final episode. Guillermo takes care of everyone. Laszlo and Nadja, Laszlo reveals to Nadja that the reason he won't return is he was kicked out of the Sherwood Club because he was marrying a poor peasant girl from a weird village, and they did not, they revoked his status in society because he came from a high society kind of life. And so he reveals it in this touching, amazing, romantic moment of just line by line, because I was going to marry a woman who's poor and from nothing in this village. And later on, it's like, and that woman was you. And she's like, oh my God. And then, we'll be in charge of the power. Well, fuck all. That changes everything. We're going. And that brings us to the finale, the wrap up of Nadja and Guillermo. Because as we said, Nandor agreed to turn Guillermo into a vampire. Laszlo and Nadja are saying, oh, Guillermo, you got to help us. Nadja gets in her coffin, and then Guillermo is loading the pornography, Oreos, a bunch of food that you can't actually get in the UK right now. But also, it turns out that he's going to shove Guillermo into it, lock him in, and all Guillermo had to do was leave, go to a train station to meet Nandor, and start the rest of his life.
And his little backpack, or his little...
it was so... Poor Nandor left at the altar, if you will.
Yes.
Which it's been hinted that maybe that's who they end up together, Nandor and Guillermo, which will be very intriguing. Mm-hmm. And then Laszlo goes home
with Guillermo when he had the little Nandor doll.
Oh yeah, it was so adorable. And the guide was really hitting on Guillermo in an episode too, which was pretty funny. And I almost got a vibe that maybe she was gonna hit on Nandor at the end of this episode, for just a moment at least. And it kind of wraps up everyone's story except for Laszlo and Colin Robinson. What are they gonna do? Nadja is in a coffin heading over to England. Guillermo also in a coffin heading over to England. Nandor on a train traveling the world. All alone, poor guy. And then that brings us to Laszlo and Colin Robinson. Laszlo decides that he's going to take care of the body of Colin Robinson, only to go in there and the stomach has been ripped out and there's ooze all over the floor. It was like Ivan. It was like the 1996. You can call me Ivan Ooze, and it just felt so gross, and it's building and building, and it shows, and all of a sudden it's a baby with Colin's face on it, and he's just
Very
and Laszlo looks over in the camera and goes, "Oh fuck." And so that means that when you die as an energy vampire, you basically recreate yourself. It is like asexual reproduction, right? I believe is what it's called.
I think so.
So
I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
Well, no, it was like, I think you and I chatted about that because, from the farewell, it was like, they can't, this is too important character. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to completely do this, but how are they going to? And there's been all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've been reading it, and you and I chatted about the 2 other Collins that are buried in the backyard. Remember from the episode? Was it Colin's promotion?
Yes. And the clones are in the backyard.
There were 3 of them, and so they buried 2 in the backyard. So would that be a way for him to come back? But the way they did this, it was like,
very well done. Yeah, very well done.
But the baby, like, that was just hysterical. That, like, a very last little scream. It was like, that was just brilliant. But did you look at the opening credits of that episode? Oh, you got to go back and look at the opening credits.
Wait, yes, I did. They had all of his pictures were shredded.
Like nothing, and then like scratched out. I mean, that was like brilliant. That was brilliant.
They changed the intro a couple different times this season, and it was always for the better.
The casino one?
Yeah.
And then, which one where they sang it? They sang the
wellness center. Oh wait, that one.
Where the opening song was sung in was it Farsi? It was something. It was the wellness center episode. That was the episode about Nandor, because they were talking about his it was his ascension day. Yes, yeah.
So,
which was funny. Creepy. Look, I got his creepy.
Oh my god, that was so adorable.
It was adorable.
So now, you talked about season 4 a little bit. So I had this interview from Deadline pulled up. They said, they're talking here, and it's the first question they lead in is Colin Robinson went on quite the journey this season. Mark, how was it to, how was the character different than the one we've gotten to know? And they talk about how Colin was sweeter than he usually was. Like when Laszlo's giving the toast and saying how Colin is the most boring person I've ever known, but I'm glad to call him a friend. The shot of Colin shows him just pleased, which is different from what we've seen before, where he shrugs it off. Then they ask the next question, the one we all really want to know. So now that there's this baby of Colin with Colin Robinson's face, but is that even him anymore, or someone totally new? And one of the writers, Paul Sims, says that's exactly what a lot of season 4, which we're shooting right now, is about. Is it inevitable that the baby will grow up to be an energy vampire again, or is it possible for him to avoid that fate and become a normal, interesting human being? That's really the puzzle of season 4, and what drives it with nature versus nurture. It's a little bit of, can you avoid your fate? Are you destined to be what you've always been, or can you make a new start? I know this makes it sound like it's some heavy premium cable downer of a show, but it's all as silly and cartoonish as it's ever been before. And then they say, once you hit 100, you automatically tip to being interesting in some way. You're fodder for the local papers, so I think you can't continue being an energy vampire, even one that's slightly more interesting than you were before. Which brings me to the question. We saw Colin's ghost of his grandmother, and she seemed like an energy vampire. Do you think that's the fate of an energy vampire, is once they reach 100 and then they're born, they actually just become regular, normal human bartender?
Do I think? I don't think so. I think maybe they evolve into some, like, maybe even more of that character, of that kind of vampire. Even more obnoxious than he was before. But you love him. I mean, you love Colin Robinson. I mean, I think, I don't know that it would work. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know that it would work if he was just a regular human, boring human, regular human.
Yeah, that could definitely not work, but we'll see. They have, later on in this interview, they say, when season 4 returns, will Colin Robinson still be a baby, or will he grow up very fast? And they say, yes, he's a baby. We're not going to cheap and rip people off and go like, well, guess what? I grew up overnight. Yeah. Almost the entirety of season 4 is about him maturing and sort of imagination of the fact that as much as we love them, children can also be energy vampires because they make a lot of noise and talk about a lot of boring stuff.
Huge. It could be very interesting. It could be, I mean, it really could be funny having a little kid in the house of all these vampires.
Yes. And what I love about that is they do say that at some point they'll all have to come back together. Because that's just, it's how they come back together that will be the fun thing. And they say, they mentioned that Laszlo has to be kicking himself for getting rid of Guillermo, who takes care of everything for the vampires going through. And it's like, yeah, I think you're right. And they even say that Laszlo is such a blowhard and just a windbag and an idiot that the last thing you would want is to entrust him into his care, a helpless anything. As we know, Laszlo turned an infant into a vampire.
Yep.
So 100% agree to that. And it really sounds like season 4 is going to take everything they did this season and expand upon it. They say Kristen Shaw? I don't know how to pronounce it. Who plays
the guide?
The fucking guide. She's going to be coming back. They say that they think the doll is coming back as long as the doll doesn't have another offer.
You got to have the doll.
So it sounds like season 4 is going to take everything we've seen. Now, let's go ahead and just say, one big hope you have for a character or the next season at large. What is that, LaVonne?
Well, it's, and we've talked about this before. I think we did it in our panel. It's always, I want something for Nandor. He's really my favorite character in the show. And gosh darn it. I mean, it's like, it's like he's going to find his groove. So where is he going to find the groove? I mean, because he was leaving the island of Staten. So where's he going? And what's his adventure? What kind of adventure is he going to have? I don't know if it's a love thing. He's just been really unlucky in that. Maybe, I mean, they've tried it with this season, so I think they're going to have to go a different way for next season. I don't know.
Yeah, I think with Nandor, it could be about, reconnecting with Guillermo, realizing how much he cares for Guillermo now that Guillermo is gone. And then thinking that he was locked, left is going to have a thing, it's going to create a nice conflict between the two. Which is kind of the best part about that setup. The character I really don't know what's going to happen the most is probably Nadja. I'm really excited to see what she does, where she goes with her power. And is Guillermo going to be a part of that power? That'll be really interesting to see going forward.
Because is she going to stay in England or is she going to come back? I mean, what's going to happen when they get there? And then she realizes that Laszlo didn't come with her and locked her in with Guillermo. I mean, how's that going to affect the relationship with Laszlo?
Yes. And Laszlo really, wrote that letter to her explaining it all. And basically is like, I break my vow for you, my love. And it's like, wow, just so she can go attain that power that, she craves. And he's just like, fuck off, I'll wank over here, basically.
But I think they I don't know that they could, they need each other.
Yes, I actually feel the exact same way. And it's going to be very interesting to see how Nadja reacts, especially after everything we saw this season. I don't think it's going to be It's not going to be in Laszlo's favor for sure.
And I don't know, but I think she needs Nandor too for the Vampiric Council. I think they do need each other in that respect.
Yeah.
Well, she thinks she can do it all herself. I don't think she can.
Yeah, and she does have Guillermo. So that's why it's like, ooh, and that was his gesture was, I gave you Guillermo because I know that no one will ever be able to mess with you.
Right.
It's like, oh. That actually is wrapping up what we do in the Shadows season 3 and our look into season 4. We didn't go too deep onto this just because we're in the interest of time, of course. LaVonne, where can everyone find you on social media?
Facebook. I'm not on the. Somebody asked me today. I'm not on the Instagrams. I'm on Facebook. LaVonne French.
LaVonne French on Facebook, and of course you can find all of my links at linktr.com/TCRochesterACT. That's TCRochesterACT. LaVonne, thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed the talk. Getting ready for our next Pensacon event. Woo!
Our panel part two.
Part 2. And cosplayed. I don't know why I became Christopher Walken.
I don't know.
And then just went like super off book with any kind of accent.
Part 2, and and then we do need to. There's another show. I know that's a whole nother show, a whole nother like cast here on Wellington Paranormal.
Yes, that's something we definitely need to dive into because I watched all of season 1 and I loved it, and I just haven't started season 2 in the interest of time. And it is I love that Nick the vampire came back in that episode.
I haven't seen all the way through yet, so don't spoil it for me.
He shows up in season 1. I'll say.
Oh, cool!
And that was nice.
Just so funny, and people would have to know that they are the cops that are in the movie. What we do in the show.
Yes,
the cops. So, from what I've seen so far, it's just hysterically funny. I mean, the 2 cops. It's like X-Files meets I don't know, but it's just so funny.
It's like X-Files meets Hot Fuzz.
It's so funny. And it's like I mean, that's a whole nother show. So yes.
That's a whole nother show, a whole nother podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna end this one at probably one of our shortest episodes ever. Huzzah with that. As always, I want to thank you, our fans that join us weekly, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, or listening via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Good Pods. We appreciate you spending your time with us. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, drop us a comment, and leave a review. Give us 5 stars if you're feeling generous. If you're not, that's okay too. As always, I'm Thomas Carter Rochester. This is LaVonne French, the Space Mom. Look her up on Facebook. Thank you for joining us on episode 71 of Lights, Thunder, Action. We'll see you next time.